Thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. I'm back with more NCAA women's basketball news, more exciting college basketball news. So, looking at the LSU women's basketball team, the Tigers, they lost a little bit last year. Well, this year, losing Anissa Morrow to the WNBA. But with the return of Flau'jae Johnson, Michaela Williams, Cheyenne Day Wilson, people like that, they still have hope of some contention for next year. But they made some key additions this offseason that I believe will be an asset for them going forward, especially the March Madness tournament and, ultimately deeper into the March Madness run. But they did add Kate Koval from Notre Dame. And they also added Amaya Joyner from East Carolina and Malaysia Fulwiley from South Carolina. So they added scoring. They replaced the rebounding with the Maya Joyner. And then Kate Koval, I believe, is a project that will be worked on as far as mid-range game and post and things like that. But I'll get into depth into this move. Pairing Flau'jae and Fulwiley together, this will definitely be one of the best backcourts in college basketball. And having a best backcourt won't necessarily make you, a top contender, but it'll give you great guard play, great ball distribution, and things like that. Because we know, Full Wiley can pass as well as she can score, but I only say good backcourt play won't give you necessarily good, a guaranteed championship is because Notre Dame last year with Olivia Miles and with Hannah Hidalgo had excellent guard play. They had a scorer and then they had a passer, but for some reason it just didn't mesh well. But I believe Kim Mulkey will be able to figure this out. Not a knock on um, Coach Ivy's coaching because she did an exceptional job, but I think it was some kind of turmoil between the players why that didn't turn out well. But I believe Kim Mulkey will have these players disciplined and have this backcourt a legit backcourt. It definitely has to be one of the top three in college basketball coming up. So we'll see what TCU does with Olivia Miles and what they pair her with and see what happens with that. But I think Flau'jae will be a good influence on Malaysia Fulwiley, as Flau'jae has won a national championship with Angel Reese, and she has that championship pedigree, championship experience to go with the youth of Malaysia Fulwiley, who's a very good talent, but she's very raw talent. She needs to be tamed and kind of, coached up a little bit. But I believe Flau'jae and Kilmoki will get her to where she needs to be. And that's not a knock on Coach Staley because I think Coach Staley did an exceptional job, but dealing with such a young player who was very eager and very dominant to score. I think she got a little excited at times and she needed to be reeled in, and unfortunately, it was unable to happen. But I believe this pairing in LSU will absolutely put Malaysia Fulwiley where she needs to be. I expect a tough start from this team at the beginning, just trying to mesh together, but I believe they will figure it out eventually. But another point of contention is Malaysia Fulwiley seem to be at odds with Coach Staley at times. Now, if you think Coach Staley is a tough coach, Kim Mulkey is probably that times two from reports and things that people say from just, how she is as a coach and how tough she is as a coach. She's a great coach, but she's very tough and she's gonna, you know, be on you until you get it right. But I believe Full Wally needs that because just to be reined in a little bit. But like I said, I believe they'll figure it out eventually. Um, and then the loss of Anissa Morrow is huge because she was a double-double, walking double-double that you can count. You can, pin her in for, 20 and 10 or 15 and 10 a night. But this Amaya Joyner is nothing to sneeze at as well. She averaged almost 13 points and 10 rebounds last year for that East Carolina team. I believe she will be a dominant force in the post, which you really need in this new SEC with the emergence of all the teams with the Texases you have to deal with. You have to deal with Oklahoma. You have to deal with Kentucky, who lost their top scorer in Georgia Amore, who tore ACL with the Mystics just a couple of days ago. Speedy recoveries out to her. But Florida and all these different teams, SEC is a powerhouse right now. The SEC women's basketball, conference is what the men's SEC conference used to be in football. So it's going to be very competitive. It's going to be very dominant, very physical, especially with that Oklahoma team. They're very physical, but we'll see where that goes as far as if they can adjust to that game. But they're going to have a lot to deal with. But I think Kate Koval gives them a different dimension as far as like a post game. Just being a scorer. She's a sophomore too, so she's a little bit raw in talent. She wasn't a top player with Notre Dame. She only averaged like 5 points, a little over 5 points last year. So I believe she'll get a lot more burn and a lot more play time with LSU. So we'll see where that goes. But they are losing Samaya Smith and Rosario. Um, and that will hurt some because they brought them, that gave them a little depth off the bench. But, I think Cheyenne Day Wilson will have to take a bigger step. She's an undersized guard, but I believe, with her shooting and ability to get her own shot, she'll be able to provide some depth for them off the bench, assuming that Full Wiley will be a starter. But coming from South Carolina, I'm assuming that she will be in that starting role with Cheyenne Day Wilson coming off the bench. So I think this team will go as far as Full Wiley takes them. And my predictions so far, early um, prediction, so to speak, I believe that they can at least they should at least get to the Elite Eight at least. But they, with the talent that they have, they should be in the Final Four. But my prediction right now is Elite Eight. I reserve right to change that, after seeing them play, figuring out their adjustments and things like that. But this should be a no-brainer Elite Eight team, just basically off the roster on paper. But I believe Full Wiley will have a chip on her shoulder from the South Carolina debacle. So I believe, she'll get them as far as they will go as far as she will take them. So um, as always, I'll keep an eye on the story. Looking forward to the upcoming NCAA women's basketball season. And until next time, I'll see you next time.